Hey folks, it's probably news to no Zelda fan now that the Ocarina of Time remake is real. It's actually happening, and it's due to be released sometime later this year. In celebration of the remake announcement, I thought it'd be fun to take a look at some of the unexplained mysteries in the game. Curious cases that still remain without answers over 26 years since the game originally released, back in 1998. Mysteries that might even be solved or answered in the upcoming remake. So be sure to go and grab yourself a scrumptious snack and drink for the video, folks. Subscribe if you're new around here for lots more fabulous Zelda content, drop a cheeky wee like down below, and let's look at some of the biggest mysteries in The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. When Link sneaks his way into Zelda's courtyard following his departure from the Kokiri Forest, he passes through the Hyrule Castle courtyard, an elegant outdoor garden space patrolled by royal knights. The young hero must stealth his way past the guards in order to reach Princess Zelda. Towards the far end of the courtyard, we can find this intriguing statue. It depicts an absolutely shredded warrior holding a sword, with two goddess-like figures by his side. But just who exactly is this? The statue appears in the original Nintendo 64 version of the game, but doesn't give us a very clear look. When the game was remade for the Nintendo 3DS, the statue got an uplift, which made it much clearer. However, what wasn't made clear is their identity. It was kept in on purpose, but remained mysterious. Given its location, it's safe to assume that this was someone of high importance to the kingdom, possibly directly important to the royal family of Hyrule. It could be the likes of a past king. We've seen in real life that monarchs often depict themselves in full glory, often overemphasizing their looks when carved into history. Yes, I am referring to this guy's insane abs. The base of the statue also has the Triforce carved into it, a symbol closely tied with the royal family of Hyrule. Someone else the Triforce is closely tied to is the hero of Hyrule. It's also entirely possible that this is depicting a past hero. At this point in the Zelda timeline, the only games that take place before Ocarina of Time are Four Swords, the Minish Cap, and Skyward Sword. Could it be depicting one of the heroes seen in those adventures? Or perhaps a hero who isn't featured in a game, but rather mentioned, such as the hero of men that we're told of during the Minish Cap prologue? It's a really curious mystery, as this has to be somebody important. With a remake now on the way, it's got me thinking about how this mystery could develop. Will it be addressed and we finally learn the identity of this warrior, even if that's simply by adding a little plaque on the base that reads who it's depicting? Maybe the statue itself could change as well, adding Link's iconic hat to indicate that this is a past hero. I'm so curious if anything is going to change with this one. This is something that I'll be keeping a keen eye out for when playing the remake. On the freshwater shores of Lake Hylia, we can find the Lakeside Laboratory, home to the lake scientist who's researching methods of combining the lake's water with various compounds to make medicine. His lab is full of all sorts, from a preserved Octorok to seashells and marine equipment. Most notably is the dive pool that takes up half of the room. If Link dives down, the scientist tracks how deep the hero can go. If Link manages to touch the bottom with the help of the golden scale, he'll be rewarded with a piece of heart. But there's something lurking at the bottom of this pool. Behind steel bars, we find a shark. It appears to be based on a great white, and the mystery here is why? Why does the lake scientist have this creature native to the sea in his lab? It's been a question fans have asked for years. It just doesn't make a lot of sense. Whilst the lake scientist does research aquatic life, this shark is presumably native to salt water out at sea. All of the water around here is fresh. It's sourced from Zora's domain and flows through Hyrule's rivers into Lake Hylia. Unless the water in the pool specifically is salt water. Even then, it still leaves the question of why does he have a shark? You'd have to assume that it's for some sort of research purpose or experiments. The lake scientist is a bit of an eccentric guy, so I guess it's not too out there to suggest he's been running some tests involving a shark. Before I get blasted in the comments about this one, of course, I am aware the real reason is it's just a fun Easter egg to surprise players, but when we take the in-game perspective, it presents itself as one of the game's most bizarre mysteries that isn't addressed in any way. I really hope the Lake Hylia shark makes an appearance in the remake, maybe adding some motions in to really bring it to life. It'd be cool if the lake scientist makes a little comment about it as well. Not explaining the mystery per se, as I feel it would lose all its charm, but just acknowledging it. I don't really see much changing with this one, but it's for sure going to be interesting to check out. Staying at Lake Hylia brings us to a more classic mystery. On the lake's largest island, accessible via bridge, we can find a tree with a very curious detail on it, one that only appeared in the original Nintendo 64 version. There's a large claw mark scratched into the bark. 3 lines dug deep and left its mark, but what on earth left these claw marks? They look like the doing of some kind of monster or beast, a large predator leaving its mark. Like a lot of mysteries from this game, it isn't addressed or even hinted at. Over the years, different theories on what left the claw marks have popped up, but with each idea, we never got closer to a definitive answer. It's been suggested that maybe it was added in by the developers to make sure players look at the tree as there's a gold skulltula here. Sure, maybe, but even then it provides us with no in-game lore reason. I've heard some fans believe it to be the marks of a wolfos. However, they're typically only seen in forest areas, living within the dense woodlands of Hyrule. I'd also argue that these marks are probably a wee bit too big to have been a wolfos. There's been suggestions to say it was Kebora Gabora, the large owl form of the Sage of Light Rauru. He does have 3 claws, but for what reason would he randomly mark the tree like this? He fits the bill, but there isn't really anything else to back up that idea. There's been suggestions that perhaps originally there was meant to be something here alongside the marks. A quest or mini-boss that didn't make the final cut of the game, but this mysterious mark remained. This is one that I really hope the remake brings back into the game and does something with. A side quest where we need to discover what creature left this mark. Maybe some sort of aquatic creature lurking in the depths of Lake Hylia. It could even tie into entering the water dungeon, adding a little more to do in the Lake Hylia area. After Ganondorf takes over Hyrule 7 years after the child era of the game, erecting his own dark fortress where Hyrule Castle once stood, many locations and characters change as well. His evil influence plagues the kingdom far and wide. This is most obvious in the nearby Castletown Market, and there's one character found here whose identity is a mystery. Inside this wee building by the town gates, we can meet the Poe Collector, a strange, headless figure who resides here. His purpose in the game is for Link to bring Poe souls to him in return for rupees and rewards. But who exactly is he and where did he come from? Despite appearing as someone you'd assume could be evil, he wears an outfit sporting the Triforce on it, a symbol closely tied with the royal family of Hyrule. So, who is the mysterious Poe Collector, and what is his tie-in to Hyrule? A strong, but never outright confirmed theory is that he's a guard who was once stationed inside this building prior to Ganondorf's takeover. If Link enters this storehouse as a child, he'll find a room full of pots, manned by a single guard. Interestingly, this particular guard, if spoken to, will say some odd things, such as that he's bored and it'd be more interesting if there were more troubles in the world, as well as that he wishes ghosts would appear as studying them is a hobby of his. 7 years on in the future, and this place is turned into a ghost shop, with a mysterious figure who collects Poe souls in the exact same position where the guard stood. It feels rather likely that these two are one of the same, especially when you consider the Triforce on the Poe Collector, but it's never confirmed and puts the Poe Collector's identity as a mystery. I wouldn't want the remake to outright confirm it, but perhaps add some more small details to further back the theory, I guess softly confirming it. Sometimes these characters are kept more interesting by their mysteries, and never being entirely solved. In the far reaches of the Haunted Wasteland, we can discover the mighty Desert Colossus, the home of the Spirit Temple and one mighty mystery that looks over these lands. Carved into the rock is a giant statue depicting a mysterious goddess who's become known as the Goddess of Sand. However, we don't know much about her. There's no in-game mentions about who this is or what the beliefs around her are. Both outside and inside the Spirit Temple, we find these large statues. They're clearly quite old, as some of the rock has begun to chip away. This location is also described by the carpenters as ruins. Pair that with the fact that in this era the Gerudo people look to Ganondorf as not only their leader, but sort of as a god, and it begins to paint the Goddess of Sand as an ancient goddess or deity that was once more prominent in Gerudo beliefs. Someone we simply don't know, as it's not a big part of their culture in this time frame. I've read and watched a few different theories and ideas as to who this might have been to the Gerudo. I find the idea of this possibly being their view and interpretation of Hylia quite interesting. It's not often explored how other cultures and races of the Zelda series view the likes of Hylia. We typically see that through a Hylian lens. The Gerudo have a rather interesting stance here, as at different points in Hyrule's history, they've aligned more or less on the sides of good and evil. There may have been a time where they truly worshipped the goddess Hylia, just this was their view on her. Another fascinating twist on this mystery involves some descriptive text that was initially planned to be in the game, but was removed prior to release. I discovered this through a great video by Zeltic, where he took a specific look at this mystery. He brought up that in a beta version of the game, there were more carpenter tents in the Gerudo Valley, one of which was marked with Gerudo text translating to, "May we have Din's divine protection, safe passage, good health." Which is even more interesting when you factor in another piece of change text that was also mentioned in his video. In an older build of the game, the Spirit Temple had a different name entirely. At one stage, it was going to be called Statue of the Evil God Din. The very same Din who is one of the 3 golden goddesses that created Hyrule. However, she's never been portrayed as evil. This would have been something unique to the Gerudo. It's important to note, however, that because this information was cut and not part of the final game, it's not really solid evidence that can be considered canon. A decision was made to not include these details, but it does make you wonder what the developers originally had in mind with tying Din into the Spirit Temple and Gerudo lore. Out of the 3 goddesses, Din, Nehru, and Furore, Din fits the Gerudo best. The fiery red goddess who cultivated the land and created the Red Earth. The symbol of power, something the Gerudo can relate to. They live in harsh conditions where it takes strength to not just thrive, but simply survive. Their culture is built upon proving their worth and holding themselves strong. It's interesting to think about what could have been. It's equally as interesting that this remains a mystery. This is one that I really hope is developed in the remake. It's such a big mystery, as clearly this figure was at one point in time a significant part of Gerudo culture, yet we know next to nothing about that. Hopefully the remake addresses the Goddess of Sand a little more than the original game did, perhaps expanding on Gerudo lore as we know it. Let me know in the comments what you think of these mysteries, and if/how they might be addressed in the remake. Will we get answers to these unexplained parts of the adventure, or will they remain mysteries lost in time? Thanks a ton for watching, folks. I really hope you enjoyed diving into these mysteries of Ocarina of Time. I'm really intrigued to see if any of them are addressed or changed in any way when the remake releases. I'm looking forward to seeing more of the game, hopefully very soon. As always, a massive thank you goes to my channel members and patrons. Their incredibly generous support helps to make videos like this one all the more possible. It is in no way necessary, but if you'd like to go above and beyond in supporting my content, then check out the supporting links down in the description to learn more about that. Also down there, you'll find links to all of my socials where you can follow to keep up to date with me and what I'm up to. My Discord server is also linked down there if you'd like to join to chat to myself and many other wonderful Zelda fans. Thanks again for watching, folks. I hope you have a brilliant rest of your day or night, and until the next time, I've been Hyrule Gamer.